Parliament is recalled as mob rule breaks out on the streets for a third night in London. The spate of looting and arson spreads across London and for the first time out to the cities of Birmingham, Bristol and Liverpool. So after 3 nights of riots, the Prime Minister flies home to take charge of the emergency response. The worst night in current memory. The police bring in armoured vehicles to push back the crowds, many of them just young children and teenagers. Hundreds have been arrested and many homes and businesses lost as England struggles to contain its worst urban violence in decades. Well, I'm here in Ealing in West London throughout the day as this area struggles to recover from a night of violence, a night of looting, a night of destruction, the likes of which I must say they never thought they would see in this rather leafy suburb of West London. About 40 shops and business premises were broken into on the high street here. Many more affected up on Ealing Broadway and up towards the station there. And here mainly targeted the cash tills that the mob thought were being kept in the shops. They were hiding in the bushes on the green just across the road from me there, hiding in the bushes, rushing out as terrified residents in the flats up above the shops there watched, were calling the police, were calling their friends, were calling their relatives saying, we hope we're going to be okay. Well, some of them weren't okay. Some of them were in a shop, were in a supermarket that was looted, then set on fire. One of the residents described to me, the looters came along, they broke into the supermarket, they took what they wanted out of there, a lot of alcohol it must be said as well. They went across to the pub across the road, they had to go at that, and the residents thought, phew, we are safe here. But they heard them, they could hear the mob saying, let's set fire to the building. Petrol bombs were thrown, the building went up, they got out with only the clothes they had on their backs. Thankfully everyone got out there safely. Scenes that were seen right across the capital last night. Its third night of violence. Scenes that were witnessed in areas like Croydon to the south, Hackney, where it all seemed to start last night in the east. That started in broad daylight. There was Enfield, major fire set there, fires lit there in a Sony distribution centre. Camden, Clapham, the list goes on, many areas in London, and most significantly for the police, for the authorities, spreading outside the bounds, outside the boundaries of the capital to the cities of Birmingham, Liverpool, Bristol, all reporting violence and looting there. Problems for the police, problems for the authority, problems for Mr. Cameron, a political problem here as the Prime Minister returns from his holidays. He's been having meetings this morning with the Metropolitan Police, with the Emergency Committee Cobra, and we are going to hear an announcement from him, a statement from him very shortly, which we believe will contain the news that Parliament is to be recalled later this week. Events in the capital in terms of the repercussions. Major football match has been cancelled at Wembley, an England friendly against the Netherlands. Of course, the demands upon the police here absolutely huge. We want to bring you the overview of what happened last night in streets up and down the capital, streets and other cities throughout England. Here's a report by David Bowden.
This is what used to be the Sony distribution centre in Enfield in North London. It was torched last night by a gang of youths on bikes, but only after they'd stolen all they could carry from the shelves. The cost of replacing the stock and rebuilding will be huge. The damage done to the local community, incalculable. In Ealing, as elsewhere in London, the dramatic images of rioting, fire starting and looting have given way to cleaning up, assessing the damage and preparing for what might be to come.
We're still in shock. We're literally last night.
Good morning. I've come straight from a meeting of the government's Cobra Committee for dealing with emergencies, where we've been discussing the action that we will be taking to help the police to deal with the disorder on the streets of London and elsewhere in our country. I've also met with the Metropolitan Police Commissioner and the Home Secretary to discuss this further. And people should be in no doubt that we will do everything necessary to restore order to Britain's streets and to make them safe for the law-abiding. Let me first of all completely condemn the scenes that we have seen on our television screens and people have witnessed in their communities. These are sickening scenes, scenes of people looting, vandalizing, thieving, robbing, scenes of people attacking police officers and even attacking fire crews as they're trying to put out fires. This is criminality, pure and simple, and it has to be confronted and defeated. I feel huge sympathy for the families who've suffered, innocent people who've been burned out of their houses, and to businesses who've seen their premises smashed, their products looted, and their livelihoods potentially ruined. I also feel for all those who live in fear because of these appalling scenes that we've seen on the streets of our country. People should be in no doubt that we are on the side of the law-abiding people who are appalled by what has happened in their own communities. As ever, police officers have shown incredible bravery on our streets in confronting these thugs. But it's quite clear that we need more, much more police on our streets, and we need even more robust police action. And it's that I've been discussing in Cobra this morning. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner has said that compared with the 6,000 police on the streets last night in London, there will be some 16,000 officers tonight. All leave within the Metropolitan Police has been cancelled. There will be aid coming from police forces up and down the country, and we will do everything necessary to strengthen and assist those police forces that are meeting this disorder. There's already been 450 people arrested. We will make sure that court procedures and processes are speeded up, and people should expect to see many more arrests in the days to come. I am determined, the government is determined, that justice will be done, and these people will see the consequences of their actions. And I have this very clear message to those people who are responsible for this wrongdoing and criminality. You will feel the full force of the law. And if you are old enough to commit these crimes, you are old enough to face the punishments. And to these people, I would say this: you are not only wrecking the lives of others, you're not only wrecking your own communities, you are potentially wrecking your own life too. My office this morning has spoken to the Speaker of the House of Commons, and he has agreed that Parliament will be recalled for a day on Thursday, so I can make a statement to Parliament and we can hold a debate, and we are all able to stand together in condemnation of these crimes, and also to stand together in determination to rebuild these communities. Now, if you'll excuse me, there is important work to be done. Thank you.
Events, Prime Minister.
Well, a short statement from the Prime Minister there. As he said, he's been having meetings this morning, flown back from his holidays, had meetings this morning with the Metropolitan Police, with the Home Secretary and with the Emergency Committee Cobra in Downing Street. The results of that, the Prime Minister making clear there, first and foremost, of course, that absolutely condemns the violence, and he characterised it as criminality pure and simple. There will be robust police action, as the Prime Minister was telling us there. Just let me fill you in on some of the numbers that the Prime Minister mentioned there. The majority of the violence still focused on the capital, on London, where it spread north, south, east and west in terms of boroughs and localities. 6,000 police officers, the Prime Minister said, were on the streets last night, and seems unable to cope with so much of the violence, certainly in the area I've been in throughout the morning here in Ealing in West London. The police presence, absolutely, and there was police presence, but overwhelmed by the scale and ferocity of the violence. Well, the Prime Minister said that has been beefed up substantially. From those 6,000 Metropolitan and other police officers who are on the streets of London, there will be 16,000 police officers on the streets of London tonight. All police leave has been cancelled. All special constables have been called up, and the Metropolitan Police asking all employees to be sympathetic to those demands, to those calls to allow special constables to serve on the streets of the capital tonight. So from 6,000 to 16,000. Other forces, of course, have been helping out. Other forces will be helping out on the streets of London. And a clear message from the Prime Minister about how the law will operate. There'll be that robust response, but he had this message that there will be many, many more arrested in the days to come, and said to those who are carrying out the criminality, you will feel the full force of the law. And given the age of so many of them, the youth of so many of the people involved, they made it very clear, if you're old enough to carry out the crime, then you will feel the punishment, the full force of the law. Let's get reaction from Downing Street. Joey Jones was witnessed that statement, our deputy political editor there. So as we would expect, an angry and robust response from the Prime Minister.
Yes, of course. They were, as you say, angry words, tough words from the Prime Minister, but ultimately people in London and obviously possibly in those other cities that have been affected will judge the government's actions by results and actions rather than words. I think that it will be interesting, for example, when we look at the numbers of police officers that are now going to be out on the streets, to see how that force, much bigger force it sounds like, will actually be constituted, because obviously the ones that were out last night were the ones that have full riot training and public order training. Now, presumably, of the 16,000, many more of those will be constituted of people, we know that specials are coming in, we know that there are people who don't have that full public order training who will be getting involved as well. Much harder, obviously, for the Metropolitan Police to coordinate that sort of a size of force. I mean, this is absolutely unprecedented for them. We also have officers coming in from many forces around the country to help out. But ultimately, as I say, I think people are sceptical at the moment. They have every right to be sceptical given the extent to which things have got out of control over the past couple of days. They will judge the government, they will judge the Prime Minister, not on what he says standing at a lectern in Downing Street, but in the results that it has out there on the streets in the hours ahead.